Of course, we all know the relationship, the political relationship between Nigeria and the United Kingdom, but also on the economic front. The UK has been doing business in Nigeria long before the country's political independence. So it's a very long relationship in terms of trade, investment in oil and gas, agriculture, agro-allied, whatever you call it, pure trading. So this relationship is expected to continue, and the UK is making more efforts to cement this relationship. Of course, Britain is facing its own issues as far as Brexit is concerned. So if you notice the last few months, we've heard more from the UK trade ministers and officials, including the bigwigs in Nigeria, talking about how to get this handshake a little bit more. So when the Lord Mayor of London, Charles Bowman, came into town on Monday this week, he was with the Vice President a few days earlier in the week to have a political handshake at the seat of government. Then he moved to Lagos yesterday to have this critical meeting with the Nigeria's business community. And of course, you have the big names seated there. Let's take a quick listen to the Lord Mayor of London and then the Nigeria's Minister of Industry or Trade and Investment on that big side at the level, what they're bringing to the table in these economic relations.
It is no coincidence that I have chosen Nigeria, an important bilateral partner with whom the UK already enjoys a very special bond, as evidenced by the important contribution that the 200,000 strong Nigerian diaspora make to the UK. We have a very, very rich history of collaboration and a joint desire to deepen this further. And whilst I'm here in Nigeria, I have 5 key objectives. First, to provide reassurance. Reassurance that the City of London and that UK sector that I referred to will remain the preeminent global financial centre well into the future. Second, to advance the strong ties that exist between the UK and Nigeria. And third, to harness this relationship to improve bilateral trade, investment and business-to-business opportunities. Fourth, to promote innovation in financial services. And fifth and finally, and we had a very healthy dialogue on the subject earlier, to engage, discuss and promote my Merrill programme, The Business of Trust, which aims to create a lasting legacy of better business trusted by society. And it is these 5 priorities that I want to talk to you about today. In short, I want to talk about the city's offer to Nigeria. The relationship between Nigeria and the UK is strong. Our bilateral trade is strong, currently standing at around £3.4 billion per annum. And it's set to become even stronger, forecast to reach some £7 billion by 2030. This, I think we can all respect, is a great foundation on which to build future success. But, in my view, we can do much, much, much more. As I've travelled in Abuja and Lagos these past few days, it has become abundantly clear to me that Nigeria, already Africa's largest and most populous country, is at an important point. With the rapidly rising population and the current economic growth rates, the IMF have forecast declining GDP per capita for the foreseeable future. To convert the democratic reality from challenge to opportunity and to unlock the extraordinary potential of this wonderful country, the economy needs to sustain some 3 to 4 million new jobs each and every year. And to achieve that, economic growth must rise from 2% rate to at least 6 to 7%. Ladies and gentlemen, this is clearly very possible. But to ensure the opportunity and that extraordinary potential is harnessed, the economic engine does need to shift up a gear or two. And I've been hearing during my 3 days in Nigeria that in order to achieve this, 4 things that must happen across the country. 1, creating investable infrastructure assets. Secondly, improving access to capital. Thirdly, promoting financial inclusion. And fourthly, developing an enabling and compliance-based business environment. And I'm very pleased to announce that the city, I believe, strongly believe, is very well positioned to be Nigeria's partner of choice in all 4 areas. And let me take each of these in turn. First, Nigeria needs to finance and create the modern infrastructure that every successful economy needs, perhaps very specifically in the areas of power, gas distribution, transport, IT and broadband, whilst of course not forgetting the softer areas of health and education, but to name 2. London hosts the largest cluster of professional and financial services required for large-scale infrastructure projects. We have, in short, in infrastructure services, a soup-through-nut proposition. We can finance projects, advise on their legal and regulatory framework, deliver the projects through our civil engineering and project management expertise, and ensure the final product. As I say, in short, the city is a full-service centre for infrastructure. And more details on all these strengths can be found in this booklet, which we launched at the Commonwealth Business Forum in April, published on the City of London's website. Perhaps just to give an example of a few projects that we are working on, and very close to home, on my own doorstep indeed, in London, the Crossrail project, the largest construction project in Europe, which is to open in December, will provide a very modern and efficient rail link crossing London from east to west. And I'm delighted to report that is on time, on budget, on everything. And internationally, we are very busy the world over. For example, becoming key partners with China in its One Belt, One Road program, providing the Chinese with both hard and soft skills necessary to deliver this extraordinary vision that is the Belt and Road program. I said a moment ago, Nigeria's second priority should be improving access to capital, perhaps moving away from an over-reliance on the banks, unlocking dead capital, be it in pensions or real estate, and finding innovative solutions to unleash the capital market. Nigeria already has benefited, and indeed is benefiting, from London's capital market and access to it. But there is very, very much more that is possible here.
As the Minister of Investment and having pursued an investment career before joining the government, I'm passionate about this because I know that by providing the capital, you know, particularly when you bring the kind of capital that is like FDI, foreign direct investment and so on, they bring more than money. You know, people bring their know-how, they bring access to markets, they bring technology. There are many things that flow with capital when it's properly received. And I think all those things will help to create win-win partnership with the sources of capital, be they local or foreign, and with us, and also to help to build the infrastructure. When the Lord Mayor was speaking, he spoke about, you know, infrastructure. He spoke about the importance of, I think this was one of the 5, I took notes, this was one of the 5 areas he touched on in terms of, one of the 4 areas he touched on in creating a prosperous society, you know, creating investable infrastructure, you know, and that's something that we need like medicine. We need it desperately. And this, we certainly will be taking up not just the Lord Mayor, but the City of London as a whole in trying to see how can we work more, because we can absorb as much capital, infrastructure capital, as you can provide to us. The question is, how do we make ourselves investable? How do we make sure the products and services are there? And this is something we want to really tackle going forward. The final thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, the importance of partnership and collaboration in achieving this ease of doing business or enabling environment. We can't do it alone. As well-meaning as government is, there are many reasons why we have to collaborate with the citizens, with the businesses, with the stakeholders. First, like the Chinese and other people say, you can't clap with one hand. We do need both hands to clap, even if it's just to get the feedback of where the shoe hurts or where, what the services you need and what your experience is. Because as you can imagine, when you're in government, you can get people can give you their side of the story. And as the saying goes, every story has two sides. And if you don't hear from the other side, you may not know exactly what problems people are facing, because people tell you there's no problem. I've dealt with government agencies who say we're doing very well. But it'd be nice if the customer said you are doing very well, rather than having to say it ourselves. But there's also the important issue of capacity. That it takes a lot of resources, human, technology and otherwise, to provide these services. And why not invite the help? I think it's a win-win partnership. We've established something, a secretariat for the PEBEC, that's for Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. We've established something called the Enabling Business Environment Secretariat, EBIS, which is where the work is done, the sort of where the services are delivered from.
Okay, so let's take a few comments from what the Honorable Minister says. It's a feedback from some of the business leaders in attendance at yesterday's conference with the Lord Mayor of London. That's Aliko Dangote, the president and chief executive of the Dangote Group. We apologize for that lack of audio there. Of course, we have a lot to talk more about the state of the markets when we come back. Yesterday was the first colloquium of Professor Uche Waleke's capital market on how to deepen the market. There are a few words from some officials who were present, and this is from the private sector and the SEC as well. We'll take a look at that. But again, as we wrap up the program, it was Nigeria's late Afrobeat king that sang years ago about tears, sorrow, and death. And that was what Thursday, the 28th of June, was here in Lagos. We'll talk about that.